Where was I born? I was born in Cumberland, BC, on Vancouver Island. And I was born on January 12th, 1929.
Pearl Harbor, December the 7th, 1941.
Well, when the war started with Japan and the world, they gave us 24 hours to get out of the town that we were living in. We were put into it's like CNE, they call it PNE. It's like a big exhibition ground. I remember us going into the cow stall or horse stall. They put a double bed bunk on there. We stayed there about 3 months or 4 months. They relocated us. I was in New Denver, close to New Denver, Roseberry. I was there in Roseberry till the end of the war. And I guess they gave my dad two options. You go to Japan or you stay. My dad hadn't seen his mother for 45 years, and he chose to go back. So we got relocated to Tashmi. So other people that went to Japan was relocated to Tashmi. From there, they shipped us out. You know, my dad was very upset because he's not a migrant. He was an immigrant, legitimate immigrant. And us being Canadian-born, he was very upset on that. He decided to go to Japan, so my sister, eldest sister, and myself being underage, had to follow Dad. You know, it's like a dream. You know, you go up there, there's nothing. You go walking downtown, it's all shacks, and no police wasn't there, so you get mugged. It was pretty rough. You go to any country that lost the war, and they've been bombed. All the people in the cities living in that tent city or the tin roof shacks. You see sometimes the war-torn places where all the kids are running, and it's the same thing. Only I was real, I was in there. So the tough got better, so that's where I got all my little nicks and knacks. People used to pick on me because I was tall for that time, skinny, tall guy, and I dressed a little different than the Japanese. Mistook me for somebody else, and that's when I decided, hey, I gotta learn something. So I went to judo first and found about karate. At that time, the martial art was prohibited by MacArthur, so they didn't expose their existence. I went to Tokyo to get my assistant paper. At that time, there was a group of karate people putting demonstrations in this park. And I happened to watch them, and impressed me so much. And somebody told me there was a Okinawan gentleman teaching in Kikuchi, Dr. Chitose. So I went down to look for him, and I found him, but it was just a backyard dojo, and martial art was restricted from teaching. So he was just teaching a couple people, so I joined him. At that time, the karate was not as strict as what's taught today. His training is he sits on the porch and said, do this, do that, do this. And there's no teaching like we do now. Now it's all regimented into structure. At that time, with no structure. That's the way I was taught. After a while, I was working for U.S. Force as an interpreter. Since I was working in the camp, I told him to move down toward near the camp so I can introduce him to the armed forces. At that time, when I was practicing, there was only about 3 people. And then we expanded from there. Well, I think I exposed Dr. Tsuruoka to the world, actually. Since he started teaching the American force, a lot of people that learned from him went down to States and taught. So that's where he got a lot of students. I was working in the headquarters for a while. They were using all the Japanese mechanics and drivers and needed somebody to guide them where they're going, what they're supposed to do. And we had about 30 drivers, maybe 20 mechanics. Because we had so many people working for us, I used to drive the bus to take them home and back from the city. And at that time, I met my wife. She was working there in the camp as a typist. Somehow we got to see each other, and I used to pick her up and take her home with other people. And that's the first meeting with my wife.
He was a driver of the truck. Our girls, he had come pick us up and take us home. That's where I met him.
But actually, I fell in love with more my mother-in-law. Because, you know, I lost my mother when I was about 6 years old, and I had no mother image. And while I was very young yet, 18, 19, or something of that nature, I asked my mother-in-law to get married. And my brother-in-law and my sister and everybody said, you're too young, you can't marry yet. But I said, I marry who I want to. Nobody told me up to now, now you're not going to tell me nothing. And I forced myself to get married, which is the best thing I ever did. Yeah. One of the dikes broke and flooded the whole city, coming up to the second floor. And at that time, the medicine wasn't as adequate. The way I hear, he got a diphtheria, which gives you a very high fever. He didn't lose the memory, but he lost the muscle control. So it's like a MS. Yeah. He would have been a very tough guy. Very tough, you know, he won't give up. Not like David. David's a softy. The first son is always kind of low-key. David was very intimidated, and he didn't want to do anything wrong to upset me.
My brother, Kazumi, he is everything I'm not. If he was not disabled, he would be sitting here. talking to you, not me. He would be more of whatever people think I am. He would be world champion, he would be... The only trouble is, he's so like my father that the two of them clash. He is more like my father than he likes to admit. Because he looks more like my father. He takes after my father's side of the family. My father is hard. He was a man's man. That's the best way I could describe him over the years. He was a man's man. He was uncompromising, strong. It was hard sort of living in that shadow for most of my young life. He was my sensei. And all that, what surrounds that term. I saw him more as a sensei than as a father. Basically, he was Canadian, and he just wanted to come back, and we came by boat.
He have to go back to Canada, he said. And I didn't take too seriously, but I said, that means we have to go too. I begin to realize, so what am I going to do? I asked my family and my mother, you have to go. You marry him, and you got child by him, and you don't belong in you. Now you're going to go back to Canada.
We tried a dojo at River Street in the East End, on top of a bakery.
We didn't have money to open up the dojo. And he said, I rent a place, the bakery shop upstairs.
I remember the smell of bread. That was one of my most vivid memories of that. I think I was, what, 7 maybe?
David, you're the first student boy. I'm the first student woman. That's the way whole thing started. It's a nice feeling, 3 of us.
And me, my wife, and Dave was his only student. So after a month, we said we close it down.
Then we went to Mac's gym. He's a bodybuilder. He had a bodybuilding club. And my father, I guess, used some of his space.
I was teaching there for free for 6 months. I said, I don't want a wage, I just want a gas money. And then we had a fallout. And that's when Mr. Ned Page, who's an optometrist, he says, we'll find a club, we'll start our own.
The first club was on Queen and Tsuruoka, above the bowling alley. It was an old bowling alley. And that's where the first generation of people came.
We put a big sign, karate. People didn't know what even karate was. They thought it was a restaurant first.
The biggest problem was nobody know karate means. So what's the difference between judo and karate?
So my wife sold the blackie just to make sure that we're not judo, we're karate.
They were itchy beyond belief, beyond belief. She would measure the guys in the dojo, this arm length, leg. That's what she would do. She would make gis personal for the students. My Lord, they were itchy. During our demonstrations, where we do a lot of demonstrations, the highlight always was, the last part was always the break. That's what people wanted to see, breaking boards, things of that nature. I've been training for almost 55 years. I've never, ever seen anybody do this, and that is he breaks boards with his fingers. Japanese, it's called nukite, the finger strike. That was always the highlight. As students, we'd be sitting there watching, and we'd be looking forward to that he would, and he's the only one I've ever seen do it, that he'll break boards with his fingers.
Every time we had a tournament here, we used to invite the clubs, and they used to come for the competition. Whereas I thought if they had one organization, we called them up and they could get in contact with other clubs that want to compete.
Americans being the way they are, there's as many karate organizations touting to be the representation of karate in the States. And he saw that and he said, this isn't right. There's got to be one group.
I discussed with my wife, and my wife, always my good advisor, says we should form a association.
My father wanted to get away from the inherent problem of styles and the style domination from Japan. He always said, we're in Canada, we're Canadians. We can run ourselves. We don't need someone in Japan telling us what to do.
There's so many styles of karate. If we leave it like that, they're all going to be an independent organization. I like to see them all together, one big group, and then we'll cooperate with the competition and stuff like that.
So he formed the National Karate Association. It was easier then because there was hardly anyone around. But 99.9% of the people who did karate in Canada were, in one way or another, came through my father.
Mine was the only club in Canada anyway, and we had a branch in Winnipeg and Quebec. The rest wasn't even existing.
We became the only governing body of karate in Canada. And we didn't realize how unique that was until we started going to international competitions and having other countries tell us that, you mean you guys are actually recognized by your government? That you are the only group recognized by the Canadian government as karate? Because yeah, most countries don't have that. Most countries they have their organizations, but whether they're actually sanctioned and recognized by their respective governments is another matter.
So that's where the first NK was formed. The purpose was to have a central place where all these styles can get together, get their opinion, make a rules and regulation, and cooperate in the national championship.
Dr. Chitose was the founder of the style we practiced at the beginning, Chitoryu. The first time I met him probably was one of the first times we brought him from Japan.
I think it was 1962. I invited him over to see our organization.
The style, Chitoryu, was really regional. Basically, it existed only in one city, Kumamoto, the city I was born in.
Chito Sensei didn't have a big club. I'm the one that supported him and his family.
We trained with that style for many, many, many years until the influx of the Japanese instructors, different styles. We were probably the first North American karate people. The first. In Canada for sure, and probably among the top first 2 or 3 in North America. So we were known in Japan, and whenever instructors came over from Japan, almost all of them at some point made a trek to our house to pay their respects.
By then, I was practicing many styles, Tai Chi, Kung Fu. I just dabbled at it, but because I knew all this master, I had the opportunity for them to kind of take me outside. And so then I found out that there's a lot more karate, Kung Fu, Tai Chi has more karate movement involved than what I thought it was, you know. So I was kept busy all the time trying to experiment this, experiment that.
And probably that didn't sit well with Chitose Sensei in Japan, that the fact that we were doing other systems, other styles, learning other things. And that probably was one of the reasons that they had the falling out.
Well, actually, it always comes back to finance, unfortunately. You know, he was a doctor, but he wasn't practicing. He just depended on the income from karate. And at that time, we had a club from, you know, BC right up to Newfoundland. So we had a fairly large amount of students. And he kind of got very comfortable and started demanding more. And I say, you know, I'm sending you for your membership, not to support your family. So that was it, and then I just say I had enough.
It was 1985. I'd just come back from Hungary, from the World Championships. And I'd realized that literally I had been competing for 20 years. Doing an average of 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 tournaments a year. So my whole life was involved training for tournaments, peaking, coming down. And at 35, I thought, geez, I'm just getting tired of this. This is, you know, this is tough. The whole mental, physical, you know, life of competition. And I don't know if it was a conscious effort. It just turned out that I just didn't go to the club to train a lot. And it was a period of about 10 years, I would say, where I was just teaching my own club. And in my own little way, coming up with my own technique, sort of becoming who I am in terms of training and technique. And then when I came back, I was stunned. I was stunned that they were in the class pretty well doing the same thing that I thought come up with in my own over these last years, and they're basically doing the same thing. I thought, why did I ever go away? But I think that was the evolution. I needed to, sounds terrible, but I needed to be me. I needed to do what I do different. There are techniques that my father was teaching that I could not get. I just couldn't get it. I just didn't understand it. And guys around me, they're picking up on it, they're doing it, and I'm thinking, why can't I do that? Why don't I understand? And there's examples of techniques that he's been teaching that took me literally years. I mean, years before I got. There was one point in one of the summer camps, we're training in the dock at 6 in the morning. The water's calm like glass. The sun's coming up, there's loons. It's just one of those epiphany points. And we're doing a technique of punch, something really basic. And at that point, it just clicked. I go, oh, this is what he's talking about. I get it now. I get what he's trying to do with a certain, the way he moves his wrist, the flick of the wrist. It finally dawned on me. I got it. But this was like 2 years after he's been teaching this in class. But it all comes down to self-discovery. The whole concept of summer camp is very Japanese. It was something that I don't think anybody knew about in North America, at least the way we ran the camps. 1 week, we sleep in tents, we cook our own meals, we work out 6 hours a day, 6 to 8, 10 to 12, and 3 to 5. The very first camp was at a conservation park. Then we ended up getting a place to have our camp. And they've been running non-stop for, must be, I don't know, 50 years. It has to be about 50 years. Our camps are all one-on-one. Everybody is close. We have guys coming right across from Canada. They are unique. You won't see anything like that, I don't think, anywhere right now, the way our camps are run. It creates a feeling of camaraderie and bonding that I think is unheard of in this day and age. I'd really be hard-pressed to find anything that even compares to the way we run our camps now. My father's strength, and I think it's unparalleled, is he is the best instructor of basics I have ever come across in my life. For basics of how things work, there is no one that I've ever come across other than my father, who has that depth of knowledge. And a lot of that is because he wants to know why. It's just, for him, it's not good enough that we do this because that's the way it is. We stand and punch this way because that's what our style says we do. He always wants to know why. How can I do it better? There is one part of his life that I think gets very short shrift, that people don't realize, and that is my mother.
Well, you know, after 60-odd years being married, and I had my way, being macho and selfish, and because, you know, Japanese men was the boss, and I picked up with bad faults.
The whole adage that, you know, behind every good man, there's a woman. In this case, it is true to a T.
Come to think of it, right now, I was a rude old man. Now I say, hey, it's about time I looked after my wife.
Without my mother, my father would not be where he is now. She's very strong, very supportive. She will fight to the death for him and the family. And I think the support that she gave him, and when necessary, the push, is what made my father what he is.
I'm the toughest one in the family. Yeah. So sometimes I gotta push him, pinch him to do it. But that's my duty, I say.
To me, she was not only my wife, but my partner, mother to the kids. And whatever I did, she was behind me, backing up 100%.
Behind the scene, it's run the dojo business, he didn't do nothing. I did everything. Because his mentality is, I begin to find a little by little, he's not money-making business mentality people. He doesn't care that the people's coming, no pay. That's I have to, at the one day, we have to collect the money, otherwise we can run the business.
When we opened the club, she went to the club, collect the money, which I couldn't collect, and pay all the rents. And so she was a finance manager, save some money so I can buy a house. And then she was an entertainer because I used to have a lot of people come to my home. My wife is a damn good chef. She learned everything by herself. She could Italian, French, and Japanese naturally. I really do appreciate her right now. We do get into arguments, but I always lose. But I think I won, but in the long run, you lose.
I think whatever obstacles were in his way, my mother was the one that pushed him over them. My mother was a driving force. Whenever there was a problem, she would make sure that he faced it and dealt with it. I think my father would be happy just to let things ride. You know, my mother was really the driving force behind what he is where he's at now. Without her, there's a good chance that, he would still be teaching and everything, but it wouldn't be he wouldn't be where he is now.
Wherever I am now, it's all because of my wife. It's not what I did, it's what my wife guided me into this.
He's lucky he's got me. I'll tell you, yeah. Without me, he never made it. Yeah.
One of the reasons people like my father and respect him, I think is because he's really without much guile. He is what he is. What you see of him is what he is. So I think that's what attracts a lot of people to him. There's not a lot of subterfuge, nothing fake about him. And so over the years, I think that's what most people retain about him, that he's honest and he is very open. He's a very principled person. He's very ethical. He does what he thinks is right. And that could be a Japanese trait. Honor and ethics and that sort of thing is very important to him. Concept of Budo. We run into people from 30, 40, 50 years ago. And whether it's unique to martial arts or not, there's something unique about a bond that transcends social class, that transcends all these other peripheral parts of your life. Because when you train together, you sweat, you hurt, it's a very humbling, common bond. And over the years, whether you see each other or not, when you do meet, the bond comes back instantly. The bond comes back instantly. And I think that's what people see in my father, that they remember him in their mind as he was, say, 30, 40 years ago, and they see him now, and basically he's the same. He hasn't changed. He hasn't, other than probably, I would say, being a little more mellow, being a little more easygoing, that he has changed. Way, way, way back when the press would interview my father and he was getting known, he was called the father of Canadian karate. And really, in essence, that's what it is. He is the first person to teach karate in Canada, probably one of the first 2 or 3 in North America. If you look at who trains martial arts in Canada, and I would say 99% of the people have some kind of direct lineage to him. His impact is profound. Without him, there would be no karate in Canada. And that's not just beyond teaching. It's his formation of the National Karate Association. It's his formation of getting all styles together. Because Canada's a big country. From BC to Newfoundland, to get some kind of commonality in getting people together. He was awarded the Order of Ontario for his contribution. He's got plaques, medals that the government has seen fit to award him with. They don't really tell the story. Of his generation, he's probably the last. Mr. Nishiyama's dead. Mr. Suzuki's dead. All these old contemporary masters of my father's generation have all died. He probably is one of the very last of that generation. And, when the time comes that he goes, that will close a page, I think, on martial arts history in the world. Because the next generation, it's not that they're not the same, but the world has changed. The world has changed. The people who train now are not the same type of people who trained 30 years ago. It's not what it was when my father trained. Now it's a sport. It's fitness. It's clubs vying for students. It's different. It's about the only way I can say it. And I think when my father goes, that page of that whole generation will close. Is it tragic? I think so. I think so. I think that, something will have been lost. The lack of growth organizationally in Canada, that really, really bothered him. The petty infighting of styles, the petty jealousies of instructors, that they had their own interests ahead of the national interest. I think that was probably his biggest obstacle. And it's still there. It hasn't gone away. In a lot of senses, it's worse. He always said from the very beginning, from the early days, people know I'm here. If they want me, they'll find me. But it's funny, the whole thing with the TB, that's the kind of stuff that you hear about in movies, that he's sick, they can't figure it out. Every test he's had, everything comes back clean, nothing. Then they got some tissue sample in some lab sitting in a petri dish, and some doctor walks by and looks at the culture in the petri dish and goes, I know what that is. That's TB. My father walks in, it's a woman doctor, she goes, you were interned in the camps in BC during the Second World War, weren't you? He goes, yeah. It just so happened that she was a specialist in TB of that area. There was an outbreak of TB in the camps, in the internment camps. And she knew all about that. So the minute she saw my father, she goes, you were interned, weren't you? He goes, yeah. Says, well, you got it when you were young, obviously. It didn't affect you. It lay dormant in your body. You were never contagious. There was nothing ever to worry about. And she says, oh, did you have a trauma in your life recently? He goes, yeah, I was in a car accident. He goes, that brought it out. It reactivated the virus. And that's what caused almost all the problems he had. So he was taking these TB pills for like 3 months, and that's it. No, he's okay, he has his ups and downs, but it's really funny. When he puts his gi on and he's in the class, it's like 50 years have fallen off. Basically, it's like Superman's cape. When his gi is on, he is what he is, he's good. When he's in his street clothes at home, he's an 87-year-old man. So I keep telling him he's got to wear his gi all the time. Some kind of magic in it or something, but when he's in his gi, he's still got it. He's still got it.